Trump is bullying Modi into a submission. Why is he personally targeting India, unlike no president has ever done against India? The worst thing India can do strategically is to give up into Trump's demand. If we see it right now, India is in Kobayashi Maru situation. This will be the perfect masterclass in negotiation as we learn how to negotiate with a bully. India and USA are in the standoff-like situation with regards to trade, where Trump is bullying Modi into submission. Wait, why did I just say Trump is bullying Modi and not the USA is bullying India? Because Trump has made it personal. We'll get to that soon, but before that, we will get into the personality of Trump. What is his negotiation style? Why is Trump now suddenly focused on India? And what are the things at stake for both USA and India? And why is Trump making it personal? And at last, how to negotiate with Trump. This will be the perfect masterclass in negotiation as we will learn how to negotiate with the bully. And this is important because believe it or not, corporate know the entire world is filled with them. And if we see it, India right now is in a Kobayashi Maru situation. This is going to be so much fun. You can see it from the table how is the current trade scenario before the announced tariff. Know your enemy and know your friends, and you will never be defeated in 1,000 battles. Sun Tzu. The reason why, before we start, we need to understand who Trump is.
It's the Donald! Oh my God!
Before he was president, Donald Trump was already a larger-than-life character. In his book, The Art of the Deal, 1987, he explained how he used the bold personality in business deals and negotiations. He shared tips like thinking big, exploring all possibilities, using leverage, standing on ground, and having fun while doing it. Well, based on above, depending on your vibe, you might think his approach is awesome or awful, but there is certainly no middle ground. Now, as he dives into the second term as president, he is applying these same strategies on a world stage with ton of enthusiasm.
And this is how I got elected, by being off script.
Believe it or not, I watch my words very carefully. There are those that think I'm a very stable genius.
The more he does this, the more it sparks debates and divides people. Long before he wrote The Art of the Deal, Trump often used persuasion strategies called the door in the face technique. This means asking for something big at first, which people usually say no to. Then you follow up with a smaller, more reasonable request, which is what you actually wanted all along. Since second request seems easier to accept, people are more likely to agree to it. This method is also known as rejection then retreat or rejection then moderation. In his latest version of Influence, Robert explains why this method works so well. Because sometimes someone might even say yes to such a big request, which is better than the persuader expected. But if the big request is refused, people often feel like they should agree to the smaller one since the other person gave in first. This is called reciprocal concession. Also, once someone agrees to the second request, they usually feel more responsible for the decision and more likely to stick with it because people like to stay consistent with what they have said yes to. This way, the person using the door in the face technique has a good chance of getting what they want, no matter what. But this technique is just a front. If we get into detail, this is an aggressive form of game theory. Game theory is a way to study how people make decisions when they are affected by what others decide. It's like a strategy game where each person or group chooses to do based on what they think others will do. A classic example is a prisoner's dilemma. Imagine two people are caught for a crime and kept in separate rooms. Each is told, if you confess and others stay silent, you go free and other person gets a 10-year sentence. While if you both confess, you both get a 5-year sentence. And if you both stay silent, you both get a 2-year sentence. Each prisoner has to decide, should I trust the other guy to stay silent or should I confess to save myself? And Trump considers himself a master of game theory. And he makes it very aggressive by adding these 3 elements. Okay, before we proceed any further, here's a shout out to Nothing Marketing. Running a business is tough, but standing out in a digital world, that can feel impossible. You have tried social media, you have tried ads also, but the results just aren't there. Does that sound familiar? Brands now struggle to cut through the digital noise, wasting time and money on strategies that don't work. You need more than just an online presence. You need smart, data-driven approach that brings real result. That's where nothing marketing comes in. We don't just do digital marketing. We solve digital problems. Our team combines of cutting-edge strategies with creative storytelling and advanced analytics, plus proven expertise to give your brand the boost it deserves. Whether you want to build your brand, boost sales, or engage your ideal customers, Nothing Marketing always delivers. Don't let your business get lost in the crowd. Let Nothing Marketing turn your online challenges into the real world growth. So find out the link in the description below and we will be able to work on every problem and turn your business into a success. Okay, let's get back to the video. This is the first element Trump uses to gain the quick dominance. He quickly flips from his positions, stance aggressively, no matter friend or enemy, and he always keeps his opponent thinking and anticipating. Look at India's situation. In the first term, even at the beginning of the second term, he was looking very close to Modi. But suddenly, he turned everything on its head. And one thing he always does is limit the moves the other side can make. An example of it would look like he would say something like, "I am imposing tariffs tomorrow and I will remove them if you agree to X, Y and Z. His approach may appear unstructured, but at its core, he sets up negotiations where the other side has a very limited choices, and he mixes his first move with shaping the game upfront. As most of the time he is the one making threats, this gives him an advantage. Structure the negotiation while other side is still off balance by the first move, practically limiting the other party option. Ideally, this increases the likelihood of them making concession or accepting your offer, and Trump is not the only one using it. Before Brexit negotiation, the European Union was strategic in shaping the negotiation process before the actual discussion began. First, the EU and UK agreed to negotiate the withdrawal agreement before moving on to the future relationship. This move prevented UK from leveraging issues like fishing rights or financial market access in London as a bargaining chips during the negotiation of the divorce agreement. By structuring the game upfront, they position themselves favorably for the outset. From a game theory perspective, power in negotiation comes down to two key factors. The first is the number of alternates available to you, and the second is the ability to commit to specific course of action. These are the two levers of the power in the play. Just see the way Trump announces tariff. He doesn't present them as a mere suggestion. He fully commits to implement them.
To any company that objects to our common sense reciprocal tariffs, again, reciprocal, back and forth, back and forth.
This leaves the other side with few options. Either reject the proposal outright, escalating the conflict, or make concession to de-escalate. But beyond that, one thing he has done for himself is craft an image of a Sankey or a lunatic, or basically a person with no regard to the consequences.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that?
Power comes from making it clear that stepping back isn't an option for you. In Trump's case, the other party understands that giving in would mean a loss for him, and he never puts himself in a position where he appears to lose. Banta, or best alternative to negotiated agreement, is well known in negotiation theory. If you have a strong alternative, your power increases, which Trump doesn't want you to have. Now here's a warning for you. This is not something you would recommend as a professional negotiator, especially in diplomacy, where each word is calibrated. And yet, he does it. It forces the other party to respond quickly and make concession because they believe he will follow through. That's a critical part of his strategy: credibility and commitment. This is something that Trump has done with the EU right now.
A huge deal. It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic.
Fear and loss aversion is a key factor in negotiation, often influencing decision making. People tend to be more motivated by the fear of losing something than by gaining something of equal value.
Being with us, the French Prime Minister is describing the signing of a new trade deal with the United States as a dark day For Europe, François Bayrou condemns an imbalanced deal where EU imports are subject to 15% tariffs with no retaliation, he says.
Skilled negotiators use this by creating a situation where their partner risks losing a valuable opportunity or privilege if they don't act. To complicate it, let me give an example that may sound familiar. We might tell a partner, because you are a key strategic partner, you are given an exclusive 1-week window to negotiate directly with our leadership. If you don't reach an agreement, this privilege you have compared to other contenders disappears. This triggers loss aversion, the fear of losing a special privilege. Instead of seeing the negotiation as an opportunity, they now see it as something they risk losing, making them more likely to engage seriously. Another tactic is to put a signed deal in front of your negotiation partner and say, "You have a signed offer from our company in your hands. If you reject it, then it's your decision not to shake hands." This forces them to consider the consequence of walking away. Since most decision makers are risk averse, they will hesitate before rejecting an offer that's already tangible and available. Well, there can be multiple reasons for this, but one that trumps is Trump's desire for the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump has claimed multiple, in fact 30 times, that he is the one who has brokered a peace deal with India and Pakistan. And India has always maintained that this is a bilateral issue and India will not seek anyone's interference. And this is something Trump thinks may stop him from getting the Nobel Peace Prize.
The president has now ended conflicts between Thailand and Cambodia, Israel and Iran, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, India and Pakistan, Serbia and Kosovo, and Egypt and Ethiopia. It's well past time that President Trump was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
व्हाइट हाउस की तरफ से आधिकारिक तौर पर यह डिमांड की गई है कि राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को नोबेल प्राइज मिलना ही चाहिए, क्योंकि उन्होंने 6 महीने में 6 सीज फायर करा दिया है, तो इंडिया इसको किस रूप में देगा?
A second thought on that, if there is anything that Trump thinks makes his claim for the Nobel Peace Prize stronger, is Ukraine-Russia war. And India is the second biggest importer of Russian oil. So according to him, if he can stop India from purchasing Russian oil, it may put financial strain on Russia. Okay, from the above argument, we can understand why Trump suddenly focused into India. But why is he personally targeting India, like no president has ever done against India? Why is he making such direct statement like, and I quote, "I don't care what India does with Russia. They can take their dead economies down together for all I care." Why is he suddenly hosting Pakistan's army chief, announcing that US would partner with Pakistan to develop its massive oil reserves, or making statements like Pakistan could sell oil to India is a direct provocation of epic proportion, and he is doing it deliberately, knowing quite well the history between the two countries and how many times India witnessed Pak-sponsored terrorism. Well, now this is a pure deduction on my side. However, the only thing that explains this could be how Pakistan, aka the army chief, nominated Trump for the Nobel Prize.
Israel's Prime Minister has already presented Trump with a nomination letter. Pakistan has also elected Trump, and as of Friday, Cambodia too.
He may think that if he coddled up to Pakistan, then India might reciprocate and also may nominate him for the Nobel Prize. I know it sounds absurd even to me, but again, it's Trump. What are your thoughts on this? Comment below. Okay, so this is a massive problem. We have learned everything about it. Now, how can we negotiate? As I said earlier, India is in a Kobayashi Maru, which means India is in no-win situation. At least that is what Trump is trying to keep India in. You know what is coming next if you're a Star Trek fan or a Harvey Specter fan. So how can India negotiate with Trump? You may all remember this.
Beginning of the war.
We're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right?
Well, this is a masterclass of how not to negotiate with the Trump. The recent clash between Trump and Zelensky highlighted a major disconnect. Zelensky and European allies negotiate based on principles, multilateralism, and long-term relationship, while Trump uses a highly competitive, transactional, and power-focused approach. Trump's style includes emotional pressure, public posturing, and treating negotiation as a zero-sum game. where one side wins and other side loses. It tends to engage only when he feels strong, applying pressure and maintaining a rigid position until a better alternative emerges. This system contracts sharply with more conscience-driven, relationship-oriented methods and risk undermining alliances and long-term cooperation. President Zelensky's miscalculation? His primary negotiation error has been attempting to engage in a principle-based negotiation with a counterpart who favors transactional deal-making. When Zelensky appeals to democratic principles, territorial integrity, and international law, he is speaking a negotiation language that Trump doesn't understand. Believe it or not, India can use this against Trump. Before we get to the first way, it is very important for us to understand that deals between nations are not implemented overnight. Sometimes it may take years, and sometimes it may not be implemented at all, or a portion of it is implemented, and this gives us a big leverage to maneuver. Explicitly signal increased economic or strategic alignment with China, as the US persists with the hardline trade tactics. For example, India could leak false plans for the major new trade agreement with China, maybe publicly hint at exploring buying a big ticket item such as commercial airplanes from Chinese giant Comac or Boeing. Even conducting a high-profile talks with the Comac or initiating trial deals sends a strong message. Open new market access for Chinese suppliers, especially in technology or aviation, directly impacting US commercial interests. This approach leverages America's wariness of stronger China-India partnership. It is a classic banta or a best alternative to negotiated agreement move that increases India's bargaining power by showing it isn't dependent on the US goodwill. And mind well, USA desperately need India to counter China. Second way could be to allow the Trump to claim a win that looks significant but is technically minor or symbolic. For instance, agree to purchase a certain quantity of US agriculture good, but only those that India needs anyway, or in categories with little domestic impact. Announce a deal framed to sound like a breakthrough, even opening up an industrial sector to the US investment, while in reality the sector was already nearly open or is relatively low stakes for India. Create a summit theatrics or signatures for deals that changes little on the ground but let the Trump celebrate a victory at home. This tactic leverages Trump's need for the public wins, giving up a little substance while he de-escalates the conflict. Third thing that India could do and is practically doing is stretch the negotiation, avoid hard commitments and keep sending positive signal without actually conceding. Use bureaucratic process, working groups and need for the further review, stalling tactics to buy time. Promise to consider US requests or set up committees to study solution. A classic diplomatic play. This can even work better if we can synchronize stalling with impeding the US domestic pressure, like elections or scandal. Knowing Trump may lower demand if he needs a headline fast. Gradually offer platitudes. Praise Trump's negotiation skill publicly, but never finalize anything controversial until the US is eager to compromise. Remember, the early bird gets a worm, but the second mouse gets a cheese. Meaning, India should not commit anything fast, as Trump's famous name is Taco, or Trump always chickens out. What I am saying is give him time to chicken out, and in this situation, whoever commits and waits gets a good deal. However, a nation with persistence and patience will always win this game against Trump. So with all these tactics and everything, it might be time to know what is at stake for the USA and for India. First, for the USA, any president that may come after Trump will find all bridges burnt after the Trump administration. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but this is a prediction that I can stand behind. If he is allowed to continue with the same way, the world would find a way to live without America, or at least the dependence on America will significantly reduce. Be it NATO, be it other alliances or anything, the world will circumvent Trump or in a way the USA, and by the end of it, many alliances that no one would have thought would stand against the USA for sure. It was a huge credit to the USA for non-proliferation of nuclear weapon. But with this attitude, many European nations and Japan and Korea might develop or proceed to develop a nuclear weapon, as they can no longer rely on nuclear umbrella provided by the USA. And for India, the mindset of all Indian brass and leadership would be to weather the storm. India should also, as the world is now also focused on developing new trade routes and deals to cover for the dent created by the USA. In short term, it will affect India without a doubt, and India might be forced to ally with China for a while, which India has also to be careful about. India of course have to form new trade route and relation, but the best thing for India is to focus more on becoming stronger internally, as India no longer now can be caught off guard. Heaven help those who think we are not deteriorating. We need to run fast, but before that we have to accept the fact that we are not doing well at all. The first step to solve the problem is to address this. That's all for today. How do you like this case study? Please tell us in comments. Also please like, share and subscribe for more such interesting content. See you soon.